Now, how important it is to have elemental damage resistance in Diablo 4? Well, very. I already felt it when I did tier 2, and you already feel that even you see my rogue in action here, and lots of shadow damage, cold damage, and by the way, when we are speaking about resistance, I'm talking about resistance to fire, cold, lightning, poison, and shadow. And just cold, just make you move so slow, and of course your attack speed is slow. And basically, if all that happens at the same time, it's very hard. And keep in mind, this is just tier 2, and I still felt it. And this is basically something you should focus on, getting resistance, and hopefully again focusing on getting high resistance for all of the elements rather than just a few. But again, this is a mission, it's not easy to get, and you need to balance things out, of course, with your other things that you want to have in your build. By the way, just so you know, you get 50% of your physical damage resistance as non-physical damage resistance, basically from your armor. It's also important to note when you get to a higher tier, you're gonna get less non-physical damage resistance reduction. So for example, War Tier 2 and 3, you can get 20% non-physical resistance reduction. War Tier 4 to 5, you're gonna get 40% non-physical resistance reduction. Now, another thing that's important to note is that as you level up, the damage reduction contribution per armor is getting lower, right? So for example, at level 20, if you start with 0.045% damage reduction contribution, and then if you get to level 50, it gets to 0.025%, so it gets lower. They basically how they balance the game. So yeah, you need to work for those resistances and some of the synergies and the Paragon board in order to make your resistance have good resistance. Even when it comes to armor damage reduction related to the attacker level, you get, for example, when you start, you get like 85% at level 1, and then as the attack, when the attacker level is level 1, you get like 85% from your armor damage reduction, but it's significantly getting lower as the attacker level goes up, and it's not linear. So basically, again, we are dealing with higher tier enemies, higher level enemies. Your armor damage reduction efficiency get much lower. And of course, let's not forget that enemies now in Diablo 4 have armor as well. So basically they have their own resistance, but this is for another topic. Now the reason for that is simple. When I played the beta, I didn't really care about resistance. I wanted to try the damage, and just get crazy and try different strong synergies. So that's why I actually found myself in those situations. And I can actually give you a very good example where you can actually really feel it against some enemies, especially bosses, by the way. They have lots of elemental damage. So let me give you again one enemy that was really tough because of his really strong elemental damage alongside other strong physical attacks. So the combination was very deadly. I didn't die, but I noticed that is going to be an issue later on for sure. So here actually meeting the Butcher. This is like the second strongest enemy after the world boss, and it's just an enemy. So why is so strong? Well, because you're going to see his attack phase is closing distance on you, and look at the pools of poison on the ground. So all of this together, I mean, even my rogue was super tanky, like crazy tanky. Nothing actually can touch it. But when I was there, I'm actually getting damage. I'm like, what? Finally, something actually challenges me. And the reason for that is because, again, fast attack speed and getting lots of physical damage as well, alongside those pools on the floor which are really large, and I don't have very good resistance, and of course I don't have lots of armor, and basically that's why I'm getting really kind of almost screwed. Now, I was far from it, but still, I really felt that this is going to be a really huge problem later on with the elemental damage. Is going to be much tougher on you, especially with all the reductions. So you really need to focus on also improving the elemental damage for sure. Now, of course, there's going to be many ways for you to improve again your resistance, like especially your armor, which you're going to get, of course, very early on to give you resistance. You're going to find it on gems, on your skills that increase it. Paragon board probably going to be something, of course, that's going to help you increase it. There are many ways you can increase it. Increasing your armor, of course, as well, which increase the armor. Again, 50% goes to non-physical damage resistant for all the elements. By the way, this include fire, cold, lighting, poison, and shadow. So this is just example. I get 22% shadow resistance, 60% cold resistance, and of course we can get better, even more variations, and a mix of them when you get a better gear. And again, don't forget that the armor value itself also, again, you're going to get 50% of the armor as, again, non-physical damage resistance. And if, for example, you have something that increases in percentage of total armor, this will also help as well. Again, there are many ways to do it, but this is something you should be focused on. So though right now, when you get to the beta, the open beta, and you play and you really don't care, because again, tier 1, tier 2, you start feeling it right away. I've told you already in tier 2, but again, it won't really be an issue at all. You're just going to smash enemies, delete them very, very fast. The best damage reduction is basically not having enemies around you, right? So basically, if you delete them fast, you get less damage. I mean, duh. I mean, yeah, it's obvious. But basically, again, I think that, you know the situation when you are focusing only on like really high DPS and try to search for the, the extra damage all the time. If you forget elemental damage, I have a feeling, I already feel it, that in higher tier is going to be much, much more punishing. Even the enemy that I showed you, and even in boss fight, if you already feel it, it's going to be much more intense in higher tiers. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention fighting a world boss, for example, Asheva. So somebody told me, well, put more fire resistance. Yeah, of course I didn't focus on anything, but basically I was just wiping the damage over time, just eliminating me like nothing. It was just crazy. And of course there are ways to try to avoid getting hit, but oh my god, the elemental damage is just insane. I mean, you expect it from, very strong enemies, and you expect it from, the regular bosses, but world bosses, of course, have this like big time. And you don't want to be the one who actually just, always die and other people are fighting. So, well, of course, you need to pay attention which element damage is important for some fights, and maybe replace an item, just look at this on the left side, just crazy. I'm thinking like damage of atomic nuts. So basically, this is important. That's what I'm trying to say. And you need to pay attention if you get, for example, an armor that has strong elemental damage. Maybe you should switch and use it for maybe a certain boss fights, like Asheva, for example. If you're fire resistant, it can help you out, and so on. And just in this particular boss fight, you can see that there's poison on the ground. There's also fire. I mean, this is just like, again, this is like elemental damage is supposed to be like something that really should challenge you in boss fights and really tough challenges. This should be something that kind of punish the player, especially when I saw the charts. How the elemental damage relative to the armor and other enemies. This is how they balance the game. So they want to make sure that players that aren't going to focus on that part, they're going to get punished. So it's part of your things that you should focus on in order to make sure you balance both your offensive capabilities and defensive capabilities as well. So bottom line is, pay attention to it. I have a feeling it's going to be very, very punishing. And if you're just going to focus on kind of a build that doesn't really focus on resistance, you might really pay the price for it, for durability. So yeah, just some tips about resistance. And yeah, if you have any question, have any other interesting things to share, in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, everybody. Consider subscribing. More videos are coming. Diablo 4. Subscribe. See you soon. Cheers.